We are here in downtown Royal Oak. Our first reason for coming down here today was Pokemon Community Day, but in addition to that, Darryl was awarded an invitation to make an adventure lab.
So I wanted to do it down here because it is a more populous area, and there's some interesting kind of stories to be told, not about the history or about the artwork, which there is a lot of, but there's one piece of artwork down here in particular that got me thinking about an interesting fictional story that we could tell. So I want to take a look at doing that. And of course, I'm Darryl.
And I'm Renee.
And this is R&DW Adventures. Now, we want to do a few different things down here, but one of the problems is this building behind us, the old City Hall and police station, is going to be going away. So we have to go somewhere else entirely to make our stops for our adventure lab.
Let's follow Darryl while he scouts for the adventure lab.
So the sculpture behind me is what actually inspired my concept of a story. You might actually recognize it if you had a little bit better view, but unfortunately right now it's under construction, so this is as close as we can get. But it's called The Star Dream by Marshall M. Fredericks. And this was actually a copy of the same statue that was at the Flushing Meadows 64-65 World's Fair. So it got me thinking what a fun thing it might be to do a fictional story of a modern day city planner trying to be Moses, the guy who created the World's Fair that was a huge disaster, and calling on the modern day Walt Disney as his cohort. So kind of a recreation of a failed event by people who were a little overzealous. So this is the foundation of the story, and I'm thinking in part I wanted to try a linear exhibit or a linear adventure lab to see if I could make something that was actually enjoyable and made some sense. So we want to start here and end up down the road, but the various points along the way, that's the problem. One of the spots that I really wanted to use is here at the Royal Oak Farmers Market, and it was a very, very cool tribute to Rosie the Riveter. Well, like a lot of the other artwork in the city, that sculpture has been removed. So you have to make sure when you're picking your locations for your adventure lab that the stuff isn't going to disappear. It has to have that permanence, or your adventure lab goes up in smoke. So my second stop is going to be this Eagle Plaza, actually I think they call it. That's fairly new. It's just some dead land that they had no other really good use for it, turned it into a cool little park, and it's right near where we usually do our bubble tea events. So I have to throw this in here, but the interesting find is that they have this cool plaque in this converted shipping container that has some information that I want to get some photos of and will probably use in my adventure lab. So had this been more the historical adventure lab like we were originally thinking I was going to do, we'd definitely have fit the Royal Oak Post Office in, because 30 years ago this was a site of a horrible tragedy and the origin of the term going postal. But being that this is kind of a silly, irreverent story, it's just not really appropriate. So it does kind of limit our possibilities. One thing I figured our fictitious city official would be interested in is transportation. And one of those transit options in Royal Oak that's rarely noticed is that Amtrak actually stops here. So why not make this part of that adventure lab as well? Of course, a staple of downtown Royal Oak, and an icon for that matter, is the Royal Oak Music Theater right behind me there, and that giant marquee is unmistakable. But it is a little obvious. I'm not sure that I want to really put it as part of my tour, so I'm thinking this might end up being the image that brings people in and welcomes them to the adventure, but not a stop on the tour. And behind me now is the Baldwin Theater, home of stagecrafters. This is actually a stage theater. It's not as well known in Royal Oak, but I think this is something that's going to be a little bit more interesting on my adventure lab. So I'm going to include this one, I think, especially because there's a lot less known about this area, and I can bring people to something that they maybe haven't even realized was here. So this is going to be my final stop on the Adventure Lab, what's known as Lot 7.
Why are we stopping at a parking lot?
Well, because this is where they put the stage for the Art Beats and Eats Festival.
Oh,
So-
I've actually never been.
I haven't been either, but I see them putting it up every year as I drive past on my way to work. So I figured this is a good location to wrap up the Adventure Lab because it is a location that they use for the festival stage already. And we actually have some spots near here that I believe we can put the final.
Awesome.
So I'll take people around the whole adventure, bring them here at the end, and nearby will be that final cache. So I think this is going to be a pretty cool one. Now here's the problem. In order to be considered to get another Adventure Lab, I have to have this out by Halloween, and I think you have the same problem. I
do.
think it's Halloween is the deadline for everyone to get it out
It's very
if they
close.
want another Adventure Lab credit.
Exactly.
And there's only 300 of those going out.
Yikes.
So chances are we're not going to get a second one anyway. But if we want to be even considered, I have to have it out by Halloween.
I better get my act going too.
We have to have them listed by December 15th, period.
Okay.
So we have to get them done. I don't have enough time for sure to do what I wanted to do, which was actually YouTube videos for all of these. I wanted to do like little performances. You interact with the performances essentially by answering the questions, and that being what you have to do. So now I think I'm going to have to do this just as a text adventure, and then maybe after I get it made public, I can convert it. I don't know, I have to take a look at that.
Oh, that's a good question.
So that's where I'm looking at with my Adventure Lab. Let us know in the comments what you think, if this is going to be something that you would want to even do if you were in town or near town. Maybe coming in for one of our bubble tea events that we haven't had since the COVID scare began.
Since January.
Yeah, pretty much. So leave us a note in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button over at the side. We'll have all kinds of new stuff coming out all the time, and you'll get all of those notifications as long as you click that bell icon. And then over in the other corner, click on the geocaching playlist for lots more adventures and lots more geocaching stuff just like this.